Hello my dear friends, you're in the middle of a summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. One thing is clear this morning, that the world has gone crazy. The Ukrainians continue bombing and attacking the territory of the Russian Federation using hundreds of drones, and the United States of America effectively desanctioned 140 million barrels of oil worth $14 billion. So obviously a year ago nobody could think that something like this would happen, but now this is the reality and the situation continues deteriorating. Now let's discuss everything in details, and first let's talk about the Ukrainian conflict and about the massive attack that was carried out by the Ukrainians. According to pro-Ukrainian sources, between the 20th and the 21st of March, the Ukrainians launched more than 200 drones deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. Some drones were launched in the direction of the city of Moscow, several drones were launched in the direction of the Krasnodarsky Krai, and several drones were launched in the direction of the central part of Russia. The Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation overnight and during the previous day were publishing updates on this matter. The Russians are saying that in the morning of the 29th of March, on the 20th of March, they managed to destroy 29 drones. Later, the Russians destroyed another 91 drones by 8 p.m. of the 20th of March. By 11 p.m., the Russians destroyed additional 66 drones. And overnight, according to the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, the Russians destroyed 283 drones. So as you can see, just during the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians used around 400 drones to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. And in comparison with previous attacks, the Ukrainians, according to video we received, managed to hit some targets. Probably the most important target is the city of Saratov. According to information we have, the Ukrainians attacked or tried to attack the Saratov oil refinery, and in this video, according to the author of this video, we can see the consequences of attack. Probably the oil refinery was damaged, but not significantly. But the most important thing is that the Russians are ready to launch the next massive attack from their side, and the Russians are usually attacking the territory of Ukraine from the area of the city of Saratov, from the Engels airfield. And the sources are saying that the Russians managed to concentrate strategical bombers to 160. The Russians managed to redeploy 295 and so on. And the Russians are ready to attack Ukraine with cruise missiles of Ha-101 type. The Russians are ready to use the Giran drones and Iskander missiles. And it seems that according to this update, in coming 48 hours, the Russians will be able to attack the territory of Ukraine. So that is why the Ukrainians were attacking most likely the city of Saratov with the purpose to ruin Russian plans. At the same time, we received reports that the Ukrainians managed to move even further. We are talking about drones. The Ukrainians managed to break through the Russian air defense around the city of Saratov and to move further in the direction of the settlement of Taliati. And as for this territory, we received several videos. The local sources reported that several enterprises were attacked by Ukrainian drones, but according to this video we understand that they haven't managed to deal significant damage. Few more drones managed to move even further in the northeastern direction and to attack the city of Ufa. As for the city of Ufa, we have lots of videos where we can see how exactly and what exactly the Ukrainians were attacking. In this video we can see a multi-storage building that was attacked by a drone of the armored forces of Ukraine. Later, we received an additional video where we can see that this building was attacked several times with the drones. Here we can see the second strike over the same building. The most important thing probably is that the Ukrainians didn't attack probably any military facility or something like I don't know, warehouse or just something like a refinery. They attacked just a single building, but probably the most important thing is once again the distance. According to raw calculations, Ukrainian drones managed to pass around 1,500 kilometers to attack the city of Ufa, and not just with a single drone, but several drones managed to get the city. So once again, the Russians are ready to attack Ukraine. During the previous nights, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians attacked the territory of Ukraine with 154 drones, and as a result of attack, the Russians were trying to destroy or damage objects of energy infrastructure, and probably the Russians were trying to attack some logistic infrastructure and so on. Another important update is coming from the city of Kiev itself. According to deputy head of the main doctrine and training department, Mizhevkin, we refuse the training abroad due to its inefficiency. Partners can't change the legislation and they don't understand certain processes. Ukraine's armed forces are moving training with international partners to Ukraine. So this is the first official statement by Ukrainian authorities, and according to this report, the Western instructors are going to move on the territory of Ukraine with the purpose to train Ukrainians. So this is the first statement that confirms that the European countries and maybe the NATO countries are going to deploy instructors on the territory of Ukraine with the purpose to train Ukrainian soldiers. And this is something that the Russians will never accept, and most likely these training centers, training grounds, and these instructors would be legitimate target for the armed force of the Russian Federation. But probably that Zelensky doesn't care about this. Furthermore, Zelensky and pro-Ukrainian sources stated that due to the current situation on the ground, we won't see elections in 2026. Most likely, the elections will take place in 2027 or even maybe later. Now we see that both the Russians and the Ukrainians are preparing themselves or have already begun the major battle of 2026 for the city of Zaporozhye. As of the previous days, the map haven't been adjusted significantly because there are very heavy clashes. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians managed to concentrate additional forces, so nobody are able to move further because there are still resources, but obviously the resources will sooner or later finish, will end. The question is whose resources will finish first, either the Russians or the Ukrainians. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. And during the previous night, the most important updates we received from the Dobropolye and Drushkovka direction. The map in this area has been adjusted. So these are the changes on the ground between the dates, between the 17th and the 21st of March of 2026. By the end of the 18th of March of 2026, the armed forces of the Russian Federation finished the battle for the settlement of Grishna. Yet the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation haven't confirmed this information, but most likely this is going to happen within days. And when the Russians finished the battle for this territory, the Russians began an offensive between the cities of Dobropolye and Drushkovka. And these are the changes on the ground between the 19th of March and the 21st of March of 2026. As you can see, the Russians are keeping advancing and the Russians have improved their position significantly. According to these changes that have been recorded since the end of the 18th of March of 2026, we can make a conclusion that most likely the Russians are trying to continue offensive operation between the cities of Dobropolye and Drushkovka with the purpose to break the defenses and the logistics of between these two cities. If the Russians are able to do this, and if the Russians are able to advance in the northern direction this way, this can bring significant problems both to the cities, to the city of Dobropolye and Drushkovka, because Russians will be able to answer an operational space of the northern Donetsk region, and even from these positions the Russians would be able to attack the cities of Slaviansk and Kramatorsk from behind. It seems that the Russians chose the shortest way how to attack these two cities, Slaviansk and Kramatorsk, and they think that by attacking the settlements from behind will allow the Russians to finish the battle for the last part of the Donetsk region much faster than the Ukrainians supposed or think. Now let's talk about the Slaviansk direction. Here we have additional changes as well. During the previous night, we received a video from the settlement from the area of this village of Paziona. In this video, we can see how Ukrainians were attacking edge positions of the armed force of the Russian Federation right exactly at this point. And based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Russians managed to establish complete control over these territories. As you can see, these territories used to be considered as a gray zone or the territory under complete control of Ukraine. Now we have adjusted the map and we see that the Russians are keeping advancing in the direction of the city of Slaviansk. As for the city of Konstantinovka, during the previous nights, no changes, nothing was recorded. The sources continue reporting updates about clashes, very heavy clashes along the city, along the border of the city, without entering inside of the city itself from the Russian side. Several pro-Russian sources stated that the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation in the area of the city of Chasiv Yar failed. The Russians first allowed the Ukrainians to enter the the Shevchenko micro district, but then the Russians counterattacked and managed to force the Ukrainians to fall back from this area. So this counteroffensive operation we discussed yesterday, so now we see that the Russians are saying that this attack was repelled. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous nights, no changes were recorded, but we are waiting for additional updates. The sources continue reporting that the Ukrainians continue their counter-offensive operation in the direction of the village of Uspenovka with the purpose to cut off 510 road and to ruin Russia's logistic. Pro-Ukrainian sources saying that as a result of the northern Zaporozhye counter-offensive operation, they managed to win up to 1 or 2 months of time. Now the Russians would be forced to start everything from the beginning, and most likely, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians would be forced to postpone their major offensive operation in the direction of the Zaporozhye on the late 2026 or something like this. Now let's move to the Middle East, and first let's talk about important statements and articles that were published in the United States of America. Once again, the most important and the craziest thing is that the new US license allows the sale of Iranian crude oil and petroleum products loaded on the ships between March 20th and April 19th. So several sources have already reported that this is the biggest humiliation ever. Currently, the United States of America is at a state of war with Iran, and now the United States of America, to stabilize the global oil market, is forced to license Iran to allow Iranians to sell 140 million barrels of oil worth $14 billion. So at the same time, we see that the United States of America is attacking Iranians, but at the same time, they're allowing them to earn money. Another important thing and a few more important statements that I would like to discuss with you. First of all, is that in the USA is expected that a full-fledged assault amphibious group of at least 5 ships, this group includes units of the 31st and 11th Marine Expeditionary Units, will be formed in the Middle East by mid-April. So we are on the 21st of March of 2026, so which means that almost a month of just bombardments of the Middle East are ahead of us. The first group includes the US Tripoli and the US New Orleans. It will arrive in the Strait of Hormuz area earlier and may start operating immediately. And the second group includes the US Boxer, US Comstock, and US Portland, will arrive later in the middle April, which means that first, as a result of the first wave of attack, the United States of America may try to take under complete control several islands in the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz itself. And when the second group arrives, the United States of America will try to expand their positions in this area, or maybe even to carry out an evacuation operation. At the same time, we start receiving reports that the Iranians established a safe road for vessels, and we start receiving reports that first tankers and first vessels began moving sail through this area. The sources are saying that for this, they are forced to pay additional money and additional finance to the Iranians themselves. Iran has started charging fees for ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, organizing a safe corridor. For approved carriers, according to Lloyd's list, according to the publication sources, one operator paid about £2 million for the transit of his tanker. Of course, these fees also pushes the prices higher. First ship transits the Strait of Hormuz in nearly 3 weeks. The Greek-owned bulk carrier has become the first vessel to transit the Strait of Hormuz with ACE transporter active since March 2, nearly 3 weeks into the closure. So we see that the situation is normalizing, and the license provided by the United States of America and these safe roads that was created by the Iranians will allow to stabilize the situation for some period of time. And of course, this first of all allows to earn lots of money for Iranians, and from the other side, this will stabilize oil prices and oil market. Another important thing is that for the first time since the beginning of the conflict in the Middle East, the United Kingdom allows the United States of America to use air bases on the Diego Garcia airfield. The United Kingdom has allowed the US to use a Royal Air Force air base in Fairford and the island of Diego Garcia to launch strikes on Iranian missiles installations aimed at shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So which means that these permission most likely will allow the United States of America to intensify their bombardments of Iran, which can, from the other side, force the prices of oil to go higher. At the same time, we received the report that since the beginning of the conflict, the Iranians attacked this island with ballistic missiles. The sources are saying that the Iranians used at least 2 ballistic missiles that they were launched in the direction of Diego Garcia, and one of them broke in air, and the second one was intercepted by air defense forces of the United States of America. From one side, the coalitions managed to destroy the missiles heading to Diego Garcia, but from the other side, we see that the Iranians have capabilities to attack this island, and most likely they will continue. So, as we can see, despite the war, despite the conflict, we see that the parties are trying to find a way how to stabilize the situation. The Iranians received permission to sell oil. The United States of America now have possibilities to control oil market prices and so on, but we see that there are several states that are losing from this situation. Of course, we're talking about Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and so on. And according to information we have, very high chances that the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are moving closer to supporting the US-Israel war effort by expanding base accesses and preparing for longer conflict. Now, we understand that these states earned lots of money in the past. Now Iran is earning all their money, and of course they will not allow this to happen. So that is why if the United States of America won't start the ground operation, obviously this will force the Middle East states to carry out this ground operation with the purpose to return oil markets in their hands. And as it was reported, Saudi Arabia allows the United States of America to start using the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Airport, which is located in the northwestern part of Saudi Arabia. So what is happening? We see that just during the previous 24 hours, the United States of America expanded their probably bases through the Middle East, the airfield in the northwestern part of Saudi Arabia, and the Diego Garcia airfield in the Indian Ocean, which means that now the United States of America have more possibilities to attack Iran. But the main problem is that these attacks lead nowhere. The only possible solution to finish this conflict is a ground operation with the purpose to unblock the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf. And according to article we've read a minute ago, this will happen not earlier than in mid-April. So the next months, the parties will continue bombing, attacking each other, but it's too big time. It's too many days. It's too many weeks. So that is why the United States of America understands that during this period of time, it's better to allow the Iranians to sell oil, because there is no other option for them. If they don't allow the Iranians to sell oil, the prices for oil will go further and we can reach $200 per barrel, and this can lead even to complete collapse of the entire operation from the United States of America, and to huge problems to the President of the United States of America and to the Republican Party in the United States of America itself. And that's it for the short video. The Military with Summary channel reminds us we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.